Okay, welcome back. Praise the Most High Yah. Um, we're continuing our study in Isaiah, and we're going to be doing chapter 50 starting today, starting at this particular lesson. And this is an important lesson. All of them are important for different reasons, but this particular lesson in Isaiah 50 points to us being called alone. There are many people, and it's understandable. As human beings are really built for fellowship. I mean, human beings are built to be social beings. We're built to be around other human beings. When really, it's really not the Creator's intent in making man and creating a nation of the chosen people of Israel for us to be by ourselves. In fact, we know from the scriptures, he even told Adam, it's not good for man to be alone. I will make him a help meet for him, which he created from his rib, Eve, his wife. That principle is still true. It's not natural for us to be by ourselves. But we're in a special situation on planet Earth where we're in a war. And let us not forget that. See, brothers and sisters, we would think of war as a physical bombs and guns and violence, and it is. But let us not forget, and brothers and sisters, especially as the chosen people of the nation of Israel, let us not forget that the war that's bigger than the war that is a physical one is the spiritual war that we're now engaged in. That's the bigger war. It's the more powerful war. It's a spiritual war. It's a war. When I say a spiritual war, there are spirits that you cannot see that are fighting each other and that are fighting for control of the minds of human beings. Okay, we see an illustration of that in Daniel chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10, let's take a look at this. So in Daniel 10, Gabriel is sent to Daniel. Gabriel, the angel that stands at the right hand of Yah, is sent to Daniel. And Gabriel explains to Daniel a spiritual war that he's fighting it in the spirit world, but it's a real war. It's a real battle in the spirit world. And it's going on, raging all around us all the time. Okay? And so let's take a look in Daniel chapter 10. And I'm going to skip around because we're talking about the spiritual war. We're not really dealing with what Daniel is being shown in chapter 10. I'm using this to illustrate the spiritual war that's going on. Now, Daniel chapter 10, I'm going to begin at verse 1. Daniel 10 and verse 1. In the third year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a thing was revealed unto Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar. And the thing was true, but the time appointed was long, and he understood the thing and had understanding of the vision. So Daniel had seen the vision. That had to do with Daniel chapter 8, actually. And it had to do with Daniel chapter 9. The thing was long. That's the 2,300 days. It was long, okay? It was a long time, 2,000 years. That's a long, long time, brothers and sisters. And so I want to also note that at this point in Daniel chapter 10, that this Cyrus, king of Persia, was Daniel's last days on earth as a living human being. He was going to be put to rest soon. Remember, the Bible said in Daniel chapter 1 that Daniel continued even into the first year of King Cyrus. That Cyrus was Cyrus the Persian. There were two Cyrus. There was Cyrus the Mede that came in and took the kingdom from Babylon. Then there was Cyrus the Persian. That was the king that Daniel served, the last king he served before he died. So here in Daniel 10, Daniel's an older man. He's been in captivity a long time. And he served several regimes. He served Nebuchadnezzar's regime. He served Belshazzar's regime. He served in the regime of Cyrus the Mede. And now he's serving in the regime of Cyrus the Persian. So he's been around for a minute, okay, in captivity. So he saw a vision in Daniel chapter 8 about 2,300 days. How long? The question was asked. before you put an end to this? How long before the people you're going to allow? It says, in fact, what does it say? It say, the question was asked, Daniel chapter 8. The question was asked. Let me see. Let me get. Okay. How long shall be the vision concerning the daily and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host be trodden underfoot? And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. That's 2,300 years before the cleansing of Yah's sanctuary to redeem his people. 2,300 years. That's a long time. And so, their immediate captivity was 70 years, which is long. 70-year captivity for the Israelites, first taken under Nebuchadnezzar and later being sent back under Cyrus the Persian. It was Cyrus the Persian that gave the command in 2 Chronicles chapter 36 to send them back to rebuild the temple. But now you're talking about 2 millennium plus 3 centuries. That's a long, long time. So Daniel was depressed to know, for several reasons, obviously, as people were going to be subject to heathen powers, lesser people that weren't a people for 2 millennium. Long time. And you know what? Praise Yah. We're at the end of that right now. See, we are the children. Daniel was in the beginning of it. Now the time is at the end. We done passed the 2,300 years now. That ended in 1844. What we're dealing with right now is the preparation of the 144,000, the final movements. See, we come here at the end of the thing. Daniel was at the beginning. He wished he could have been at the end of it. But then look, in those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. Remember that 3 weeks, 21 days. Okay, Daniel's a prophet. Our prophet of prophets is Daniel, because Daniel was beloved. Remember? He said Gabriel came and gave him a message from the Father. You are greatly beloved. Can you imagine, brothers and sisters? Gabriel, the angel that stands in the presence of Yah himself, he came to Daniel, a man like you and me, and he said to that man with a message from the Father, you're greatly beloved. Can you imagine? Imagine what that's like. I mean, I can't. I'm just blessed when I think of myself as a servant of Yah. I'm just blessed to think of myself to be one of his servants as an Israelite. But to have a message from the Father through his angel that comes to you and he's telling you from the Father himself, you're greatly beloved. This is Daniel. So this Daniel, to have that type of relationship with our Father, he walks with the Father. He's like Enoch in that regard. He walks with the Father. This is no casual relationship. Daniel is in a deep spiritual connection with the third heaven. Okay? So in these days, he's mourning for 3 weeks, 21 days. Why? He somehow is not feeling that same connection. For some reason, we're going to find out here in the spiritual war that we're dealing with. Okay. Verse 3, I ate no pleasant bread, neither came flesh nor wine in my mouth, neither did I anoint myself at all till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. See, he didn't feel like having any wine to make himself happy. He didn't eat any delicious flesh food. He was eating Spartan food because he was mourning. He was depressed for 3 weeks. He was in a depression. Something had cut the connection, and he's in depression. Okay. In verse 4. And in the 24th day of the first month, as I was by the side of the great river, which is Hiddekel, he seems to get serious visions when he's by a river. Remember the other one he got in Daniel 8, he was by Ulai. Now he's by Hiddekel. Okay. Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with the fine gold of Upaz, his body was like the beryl, his face as the appearance of lightning, his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arm and feet like to polished brass, the voice of his words like the voice of a multitude. We've seen this before, obviously, Revelation chapter 1. This is Messiah. Messiah is now standing on the river. He's standing on the river, Hiddekel. He's not standing beside the river. He's standing on the water. Okay? So now this is what Daniel saw in Daniel chapter 10. The Messiah is there. Now, as we saw, this is how it works. We see it from Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. Let me repeat that for you. The revelation, and I'm going to say it just like I said, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which Yah gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel. That's how prophecy works, unto his servant. In that case, it was John. So how does it work? Father gives a message to Messiah. Messiah gives that message to an angel. The angel delivers the message by the Father's Spirit, by Messiah, to the servant, the prophet. Okay? Always works that way. That's why Revelation's talking about, I saw an angel come down from heaven having great power. That angel's with a message to the prophets, to the servants, to deliver. From the servants to deliver. I saw three angels, the first angel, second angel, third angel. Babylon is fallen. If any man received the mark of the beast, right? First angel, the everlasting gospel, all of that is messages from Messiah to the servants. That's the way it always is. So here, Messiah comes. Gabriel comes with him. And so while Messiah is standing there, Gabriel is with him, and Gabriel is going to relay this message to Daniel. Not the first time we saw Daniel with Gabriel. Gabriel came to him a couple of times. He said, Gabriel, even the man that has seen it the first, he came caused to fly swiftly, touched me at the time of the evening oblation. That's Daniel chapter 9. So that's when he told him, you're greatly beloved. Brothers and sisters, we should strive. Really, as a side note, when I say we, I'm not talking about every man. I pray not for the world, Messiah said, for those you have given me, for they are dying. I came not but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's what I'm talking about when I say we. When I say we, I'm talking about Israelite people by blood. We have been created, and the Bible says it. We've been created by the Father for the purpose of being sanctified in him. We have been created for that purpose. See, when Father creates you for a purpose, that's your purpose. If you do anything else, you're not fulfilling your purpose. Forget that Caucasian fool that wrote that stupid book, The Purpose-Driven Life. He has no idea what he's talking about. It's a disrespect. I take it as a personal affront, a falsehood. No. He created the Israelite people from Abraham for the purpose of revealing his spirit in us. We have been made for this. We are born for this. This is what we're here for. Okay? So, when Messiah is appearing to Daniel, Daniel is fulfilling his purpose to the full. And when you are walking with the Most High like that, and you are missing him, something is happening, something in the spiritual world is happening, and you're not feeling that presence with you. Get depressed. Don't think all depression is just something from a chemical imbalance. I'm not saying that they aren't such things. But sometimes the depression is because there's a spiritual war and you're being blocked and you don't realize. See, Daniel was feeling this. Messiah is standing on the river, and here comes Gabriel. Now, let's let Gabriel start to speak. Daniel chapter 10. Go on verse 10. I'm going to read from verse 10 and go down to verse 12. Because the second time he tells Daniel how beloved he is. And behold, an hand touched me. It wasn't the Messiah's hand. This is Gabriel's hand. See, Messiah's standing on the river, and Gabriel's going to give him the message. And Gabriel touches him. Second time. Remember, Gabriel touched him again in chapter 9. Remember, he touched him in chapter 9. In chapter 9, he touched him. He said, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me. About the time of the evening oblation. Gabriel touched him. That's chapter 9. Going to do it again in chapter 10. Okay. Okay. Chapter 10, verse 10. And behold, an hand touched me, which set me upon my knees and upon the palms of my hands. And he said unto me, O Daniel, a man greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak unto thee, and stand upright, for unto thee am I now sent. And when he had spoken this word unto me, I stood trembling. Then said he unto me, Fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thy heart to understand, to chasten thyself before thy gods, thy words were heard, and I am come for thy words. What is that all that? Brothers and sisters, we have to get to the point when our first reaction to any problem, listen now, listen, I want to make sure y'all hear this. Testing, 1, 2, 3. You hearing this? Testing, 1, 2, watch this now. We have to get to the point. This is called spiritual development. This is called growth in grace. We have to get to the point where our first reaction to any problem is to turn to the Father. Not to seek help with anyone else first, but to turn to the Father and pour out our hearts to him first. We get to the point where we turn to the Father for any problem, regardless. And that's how Daniel was. So Daniel's feeling depressed. He doesn't go to a psychiatrist. He doesn't go to his buddies, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, to talk about it. His first reaction is to go to the Father and to examine himself. Because that's our first reaction. Examine yourselves, whether you be in the faith. That's what the Bible says. That's what the apostle writes. Examine yourselves, whether you be in the faith. All of us make mistakes. Sometimes we do it ignorantly. The Father understands that. And his grace is extended to all sinners that repent, whether in ignorance or not. So when we are feeling this way, the first thing we have to do is earnestly seek our Father and examine ourselves. Have we done something wrong? Are we making a mistake somewhere? Are we with some people we shouldn't be around? Examine it. Sometimes we examine ourselves and we ignore things, like my recent experience with the motorcycles. I felt scared on the motorcycle. It was exhilarating, but it was scary at the same time. Scary in the sense that I didn't like that feeling. Father is not into fear. So I thought I would overcome it by just being determined and getting on that bike and not being scared anymore. But what it was, the Spirit of the Father was telling me, get off the bike. Forget it. Took me the second serious accident, but 2 accidents where the bike got totaled and I got hurt, especially the second time, for me to catch that message, for me to get that memo. And then because the first thing I did that second, I'm laid on the street and I'm realizing it hit me like a ton of bricks, hit me like that, like I hit that Jeep that I ran into. I'm done with motorcycles. That's what is it. I'm done with motorcycles. I needed that to examine myself and realize that's the message. Sometimes we have to do that. Is it me, Father? Remember when Messiah said, when are y'all going to betray me? And everybody, all the disciples now, the faithful ones, not Judas, the faithful ones, is it me? Is it me? Judas said, is it me? And Messiah said, you said it. John said, well then, if it's not me, who is it? He said, watch me when I dip this bread in the dish of the sauce. Who dips it with me is the one. He dips his bread, so did Judas. But they all said, is it me? That's our first response. When something goes wrong, we're depressed, something's happening, you want to go to your Father. Go to him and say, Father, is it me? He'll show you. And I praise him. Sometimes he'll say to me, keep doing what you're doing, you're fine. Sometimes he'll say, you're finished with the motorcycles, brother. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes he'll say, you're finished with the motorcycles. Sometimes he'll say, you spoke out of turn. Sometimes he'll say, keep walking in that path, you're all right. See? But I got to ask the question. Daniel searched himself. Is it me? He was mourning. He was seeking his Father. But then Gabriel came and said, from the first day you sought the Most High, your prayers were heard. Well, if y'all heard me 3 weeks ago, how come it took 3 weeks for you to come to me? Now Gabriel's going to explain. Daniel chapter 10, verse 13. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 1 and 20 days. The prince of the kingdom of Persia is Asatan. He's the prince of this world. Okay? Yah removes kings and sets up kings. It's true. Daniel said that himself. He was shown that. But the prince of this world is Asatan. That's what Messiah called him. The prince of the powers of the air that worketh in the children of disobedience. So when he mentions the prince of Persia, he's talking about Asatan. He said, the prince of Persia withstood me 1 and 20 days. For 21 days, there was a physical, in the spirit world, a physical battle between Gabriel and Asatan. It was a 21-day fight. See, we talk about boxers going 12 rounds. That's 36 minutes, right? Or if they go 15 rounds, that's 45 minutes. And that's a long fight. That's a lot of working out, a lot of exercise to be standing there throwing your hands and bobbing and weaving for 40 minutes. With 1 minute rest in between. That's a lot of exercise, right? That's high intensity. Gabriel was fighting with this devil for 21 days. Brothers and sisters, these are the type of things that are going on behind the scenes we need to be recognizing. Don't be ignorant like the heathen. The heathen don't know what's going on behind the scenes. If they do, they go into a psychic or to a tarot card reader, necromancer, Ouija board. We don't go through all that. That's for them. We go to our Father through Messiah. What's going on? Is it me? Nope. It's a spiritual fight. And he was fighting with Asatan himself. Again, think this now. Daniel is greatly beloved. You don't think Asatan knew that? Daniel is greatly beloved and receiving visions from the Father. You don't think Asatan caught that? Catching Daniel getting visions from the Most High about what Asatan's going to do. You don't think Asatan's... So Asatan observes, and here comes an angel flying from the third heaven with superpower. He recognizes Gabriel. They know each other. And he knows he's coming to Daniel. And he knows he's coming to Daniel with a message that Daniel's to give to you and me. And he's determined to stop it. So they fight for 21 days. 21 days. See how powerful them angels are? See how determined Asatan is? We even saw it today. What happened? All of a sudden, we get all kind of blinking problems on the YouTube. Blink, 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 you disconnect, blah, blah, blah. You think Asatan doesn't know the message we're going to give? You think he doesn't understand the import to his kingdom? You think he wants us to be prepared? He's going to fight every step. And when we get a situation like this, like you're able to see and hear me, understand there's a fight going on behind the scenes and my angels are winning. Understand it. It's continual war. Especially now, I'm telling you the truth when I say there's only 12 years left or less. Can you imagine the desperation from Asatan and his third of the angels that fell with him, the desperation in them to save their souls alive against a certain death that they have coming? And they putting their spirit on the devils that's pulling out these guns on us and stepping on our necks for them to understand their time's almost up. You must understand their desperation, brothers and sisters. They are desperate. They've ruled for 2,000 years and it's almost over. They are desperate. That's why you're going to see them get angry and crazy and act stupid and pull guns on us. Our protection is Daniel's protection from the Father, from the angels the Father sends. When we call on the Father, he'll protect us. See? He's allowing these things to happen to our brothers to teach us the importance and the seriousness of calling on him. He's not just going to be there with us because we black. He's going to be with us when we call on him. If my people, which are called by my name, we have to do something. If they humble themselves and pray and seek my face, we don't have no protection unless we do that. When we do that, and we're built for that. We are built for this. He's there. They won't be able to stand on our necks anymore and shoot us in the street. Them bullets will fall helpless to the ground. I'm trying to tell you. The guns will jam. They're firm without God. He's allowing this to happen to some of us unlawfully for us to wake up and call on the one that can save us. Daniel chapter 10. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 121 days. But lo, see, this is what people don't get. He said here in verse 13, but lo, L-O. L-O is short for look. But look, what is he supposed to look at? He said, Daniel, Gabriel said, coming, the first day, the Father heard you and sent me 3 weeks ago. But I was fighting with the devil for 21 days. But look, Michael came. See, now you know what Messiah was doing, standing on the river. Why was he there? He came to the aid of his angel. You see, brothers and sisters, Messiah doesn't always have to do that. Angels are powerful enough. But this one, you see, sometimes, when you got Ashatan with a third of the fallen angels, he don't do like the real bosses. You see that even in this world, the boss, the underworld, and the bosses that do dirt, and the president that does illegal things, like when they dealt drugs to our neighborhoods. You never see the president himself do these things. He has people doing that for him. His hands don't get dirty. Like Bill Clinton, he had many people murdered, but he himself will not get his hands dirty. That's how it works with bosses. But when it's real important, when you can't afford a mistake, you say, I'm handling this myself. So here come Gabriel. Ashatan knows who Gabriel is. Gabriel, the name means warrior of the Most High. He's the one that said, I am Gabriel that stand in the presence of Yah. He told Zechariah that, Zechariah, Mary's cousin, Miriam's cousin, I stand in the presence of Yah. That's a special angel. Ashatan is very familiar with him. He sees him coming. He knows where he's going, and he knows it's important. So he said, no, I'm not leaving this in the hands of one of my imps. I'm taking care of this myself. So he comes out. And then Messiah said, oh, you want to take care of this yourself? Let me respond. But lo, Michael, right? One of the chief princes. See, that's a translation error. Mikael means one like the Most High. That's what Mikael means. That's his name, what he called Michael. Mikael means one like the Most High. When he says he's one of the chief princes, that's a misinterpretation. He is the chief prince. That's what you need to understand. That's why in Daniel 12 he said, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. That's what he called it. Because he is not one of the chief princes, he's the chief prince. Okay? He said, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me. Satan comes to block Gabriel, the one that stands in the presence of Yah. This is the spiritual war we're talking about. Messiah sees it. He's watching it. And he said, let me show you who's real power. And he shows up, the chief prince. Get out the way, tells Satan. Get out. Satan must go. Do you know Satan's afraid of Messiah? And he needs to be. Messiah is the crown prince of the Father. He allowed himself to be put to death. He allowed himself. He said, I lay my life down and I take it up again because this I received from my Father. Understand who your God is. Israel, understand who your God is. When he speaks a word, there's nothing nobody could do about it. He allows things to happen out of his infinite wisdom that we can't even understand. He lives in dimensions. Talk about three-dimensional chess. Oh my God, we don't understand. He lives in dimensions that we can't even think about. And we're going to learn about them in the kingdom, praise Yah. But he dwells in dimensions and thoughts and wisdom we only see a little bit of. So when he speaks a word and he says, I'm making him the high priest, talking about Messiah, after the order of Malaka Sadak. He's a high priest forever. He's my crown prince. He's going to be my king. There's nothing nobody could do about it. So when the prince shows up, Y'all better clear out. And that's what Messiah said to Asatan. Get out of here. Get lost. Take a walk. And he had to go. Remember, say, submit yourselves to Yah. Resist the devil, and he will do what? Flee from you. It's a spiritual war. It's not a physical war. It's a spiritual war. And when we are conquerors in the spiritual realm through the Messiah's grace and his righteousness from the Father, the physical is no problem. No problem. But we got to understand physical is secondary. Spiritual is first. And we have nothing to fear. Let the heathen be scared of ghosts and such. The Father's a ghost buster. He's the original ghost buster. You understand? You don't have to fear no haunted house or nothing. They got to fear you. They got a haunted house and you walk up in there and you feel with the Father's Spirit, them demons are scared. They need to be. Because you got a big brother. And all he got to say is, get lost. Take a walk. And they go. They begged him, remember? Please don't send us to the pit. Send us to the swine. They begged Messiah. Please don't send us to the pit. What's the pit? That is the grave. That is where they can be locked up until the resurrection time. He said, please don't send us to the pit. They were scared of that. Send us to the swine. And he let them go to the swine because it wasn't their time to go to the pit yet. The pit comes at the first resurrection. They get locked up in the pit for 1,000 years. The Bible says that. They call it the bottomless pit. So they begged him. That's why they said it. You got to read that. I think it's in Luke or Mark. He said they came and the man said, Messiah said to the man, what's your name? He said Legion, because we are many. There was many demons inhabiting this man. And they knew what was coming next. He was going to cast them out. And they begged him, please don't send us to the pit. Send us to the swine. These are demons begging Messiah. You understand? That's who you're dealing with. They want you to start to be scared of them. Don't be scared of them. Face the darkness without fear, brothers and sisters. Don't be scared of the darkness. You might be standing, and you and I know this person because I've been on the edge of a spiritual abyss many times, looking over and not seeing nothing but black, darkness, no hope. And I've learned, don't be scared. If you fall, Father can get you out of there. No problem. He took Messiah out of there. No problem. Because Messiah got lifted out, you and I can too. We serve a God that's above that. Now, Asatan, they got to be scared of that pit because there's no coming back for them. When they get thrust into that lake of fire, there's no coming back. You understand? And he requires that of us because this is where our father Adam fell. Adam fell through lack of faith, lack of belief in our Father. That's why his sin was so grievous. See, Eve was deceived. Adam wasn't deceived. He fell through lack of faith in our Father. So now, the Father absolutely demands unwavering faith. You want to be beloved? Daniel was thrown in the lion's den. You want to be beloved? You must show unwavering faith in your Father. And his grace will give you power so that you'll stay calm in the midst of the lion's den. That's who we serve. The only true God. And Yahushua Messiah, whom he has sent. So here, verse 13 and 14. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. But lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall. Watch this now, verse 14. Now I am come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For the vision is for many days. Again, they're talking about that 2,300 days, that same time that Daniel got in Daniel chapter 8. It's a long time. 2,300 years is a long time. So he's showing Daniel what's going to take place during that time. Again, he showed him in Daniel 9 with regard to his chosen people specifically and with regard to the Messiah. Now he's going to show more. And he said, thy people, Daniel. Who are Daniel's people? Remember, Daniel was of the children of Judah. Remember that. Daniel is of the children of Judah. And he's telling Daniel, I'm going to show you what's going to befall your people, your bloodline, your relatives, in the latter days, 2,000 years from now, Daniel. I'm going to show you what's going to happen to them. No wonder Asatan was scared. No wonder he didn't want him to catch that message. But again, let us take note. He couldn't stop it. That's the spiritual war that's continually going on. Now, let's go to Genesis. In Genesis, Genesis chapter 11. Genesis chapter, I'm going to start in chapter 11. Genesis chapter 11. Now watch this. This is, again, most people don't pick this up. I just praise y'all because the word is in front of us. It's plain. And again, with the spiritual eyes that Yah has created the Israelites to have. It's not that we are naturally, physically, or mentally better than anybody or worse than anybody. It's that Yah has chosen us because of this Abraham here. He has, and before that, because of Noah. He's chosen us for this purpose, to bring forth the nation of Israel. He said it's a light thing, that you should be a light to the Gentiles. We just read that, remember? In Isaiah 48 last night. He said, you think it's a light thing that I've sent you, Israel, to be a light to the Gentiles? And to raise up the tribes of Israel? No light thing. He's called us for this purpose. You want to know what your purpose is? If you're an Israelite, your purpose is to reflect the righteousness of the only true God. In the reflection of his righteousness, obedience to his commandments. That's your purpose. How and where that purpose is fulfilled on the earth, that's for him to decide for you. See, for me, I had no intention of coming to Washington, D.C. Believe me, I'm not speaking against Washington, D.C. for those of y'all that love the place. I don't like it. But he sent me here. And so I love him. And I'm here for his purpose. Wherever he sends me next. I talked about wanting to go to Ghana or wanting to go to West Africa. I could talk about where I want to go all I want. It doesn't matter. I'm going to end up where he wants me to go. If he wants me in Alaska, that's where I'm going to be. Okay? Because where he decides to fulfill my purpose in reflecting his righteousness, it's his business, not mine. It's just mine to go. You understand? Same with you. You can make plans. Don't matter. If you belong to Yah, your purpose is to be a vessel to reflect his righteousness. That's your purpose. That's the gospel. For therein is the righteousness of Yah revealed from faith to faith. Okay? It's revealed. That's your purpose. Where it's revealed, in what venue, on what stage of this earth he's going to reveal it, that's for him to show you. Okay, that's for him to show you where and in what way. But the fact is, for all Israelites, it's the same. So that once we all understand that, and we will, we're going to be a nation that reflects as a nation his righteousness. Like no other nation ever has and ever will. And that's why Asatan is desperately fighting. Desperately now. Wanting to stop the awakening. He can't stop it because the more powerful Father has already ordained it. The only question is, are we going to surrender and receive this gift that we've been given? Even in the midst of poverty, in the midst of struggle, in this captivity. Are we going to receive this gift and forget trying to strive in this system? Forget this system. Remember, the government of the Most High, Yah, has called us and has ordained that we should be filled with his spirit. It's only up to him where we're going to be, where we're going to go, whether it's in Washington, D.C., New York City, San Francisco, some place in the middle of the Ozarks somewhere, Alaska, who knows? Ghana. I don't know. I do know it's up to him. My wife and I end up, and human beings, we end up talking about where we want to go. I was interested in looking at the Philippines or Vietnam because things are cheap over there for us and they don't treat us the way they treat us here, even though they're not Israelites. They treat us better in those countries than we get treated here. Or Malaysia, I thought about that too. But then we have this conversation, my wife and I, we end up laughing. Why do we laugh? Because we both know at the end of the day, we can have plans. It doesn't matter. We're going to end up being where the Father sends us. And we're going to be happy about that. Because no matter where he sends us, if it's him sending us, it's the best place for us. And we know our purpose, to reflect his righteousness, to get closer to him, to be vessels for his spirit, regardless of where we are. Doesn't matter. Okay? That's the purpose. Here we are again. So, Genesis chapter 11. Let's begin at verse 27. Actually, I'm going to begin at verse 26. And I'm going to read down to verse 32 of Genesis chapter 11. But Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran begot Lot. And Haran died before his father, Terah, in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldees. So they're in Ur of the Chaldees. Ur means light. See? Urim and Tumim, which the father put into the breastplate of the high priest, would mean light and truth. The word light here light was the name of the place that they lived in Chaldees. Chaldees was heathens that were following sun worship, and they called themselves light. And this is where Abraham and them lived. Okay? And Haran, Abraham's brother, that's the youngest, it was Haran. Then there was Nahor, Abraham the oldest, Nahor the middle child, then Haran the youngest. Haran was the father of Lot. That means Lot was Abraham's nephew from his youngest brother, right? Haran died in Ur the Chaldees. That's where they lived. And Abraham and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife, I keep saying Abraham, but his name was Abram at that time. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, the father of Ishka. Now, isn't this interesting? So because there was so few of them, and they didn't want to marry outside their belief and outside their family, so now Abraham, Nahor marries his niece. Now, that would be unlawful. But at that time, the Most High allowed it. Nahor married his niece, his brother Haran's daughter, Milcah. Okay? But Sarah was barren. She had no children. As we know later, Sarah was actually Abraham's half-sister. Like, Abraham's father was her father. Now, again, that would be unlawful. Now, he allowed it then. When we get to Leviticus 18, you understand that that's completely abominable now. See? Out of ignorance, he let them do that. There's enough of us now. We don't have to marry outside our faith, outside our God, outside our people. There's enough of us captives that we don't have to do that. But anyway, that was allowed then. And Terah took Abraham his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son's son, and Sarai his daughter-in-law, who's his son Abraham's wife, and they went forth from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. So actually, Abraham's father, Terah, was going to lead the family into the promised land. See, they knew about the promised land. It was a surprise. But he was actually going to lead the family, this is Abraham's father, into the promised land. They headed toward Canaan, right? And they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So they got to a place that was called Haran on their way to the promised land. They stopped there, and the father who was headed to Canaan, he died. Okay? Now, Yahweh in chapter 12, verse 1, and Yahweh said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country, from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. So now they stopped. They were still in Ur of the Chaldees. They were on their way to Canaan. They decided to stop and settle. They didn't move any forward. So now the father comes to Abram, and he says, you leave. You go to the land. Your father's going to go there. You're stopped. Now I'm sending you there. Go. Okay? And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. He told Abraham. Now, the Judaism religion will tell you that Abraham was the founder of their religion. This is a falsehood. Abraham did not create any new religion. He didn't create any new religion here. He was called by the same God that called his father, Terah, to go into Canaan, by the same God that said this to Noah. This is Genesis chapter 6. Genesis chapter 6. The Most High is talking to Noah. Verse 17 and 18. Genesis 6, 17 and 18. And behold, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh wherein is the breath of life from under heaven. Everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee, he tells Noah, I will establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons and thy wife and thy sons' wives with thee. So he told Noah, I'm establishing my covenant with you, Noah. Then later on, he did it with Noah's descendant from the Shemites, from his oldest boy, Shem, Abraham. There's no new religion here. Abraham didn't create no Judaism. That's a man-made religion that they used Abraham to say they're from Abraham. These are Gentiles that have nothing to do with Abraham. They're not even bloodline relatives of his. See how man uses Yah? See how the devil tries to use Yah's word to create falsehoods? Just like later on, the heathen created Christianity, talking about Jesus, the Christ started it. He didn't start no new religion. He just like Abraham. He came with the same intent to restore the people of Abraham. He came not but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He didn't come to establish no new religion called Christianity. That's man-made. Just like there, we just read here. Abraham didn't create no new religion. Everything he knew, he got handed down to him from Noah. Noah got it handed down to him from his father Lamech. And all the way back to Methuselah, back to Enoch, back to Adam. They got it handed down to them from the Father. There was no new religion. So then the Father decided, of all of this handing down, he was going to create a nation. See? I'm going to make of thee a great nation. Now he says all nations are blessed in Abraham, and that's true. On the backs of the Israelite, all these nations get their wealth. That's the truth. The United States wealth is built on the back of the slave, who is the Israelite. So in abusing us, they got blessings. But that's not the great nation that he told Abraham, I'll make you of. The great nation is Israel, who he knew before the foundation of the earth. And he's going to have an eternal nation called Israel, with an eternal capital city, Jerusalem. And the 12 tribes that he has ordained from before the foundation of the earth, their names on the gates of that city. And Abraham's going to be there, understanding that they are his. He's the progenitor of these people, of us. We are his descendants, his true descendants. Okay? So he called Abraham by himself to leave his family and to go to the land. Abraham at this time was 75 years old. 75. He wasn't no young man. Even at that time, Abraham lived to be 175. He would live another 100 years after this. So, but still, 75 was no young man. After the flood, the lifespans cut. Noah lived to be 950 years old. I think we could clearly understand that 175 is a far cry from 950. Okay? So the lifespans were cut. And even now, you don't hear nobody living to 175 now. Or like Isaac, Abraham's son, lived to be 180. Or even like Isaac's son, the promised seed, Jacob, lived to be 147. See? We don't hear about that now in our day. We celebrate when people make it to 100. But that's the degeneracy that sin has caused. But don't worry. We're about years away from living forever. Praise the Most High. So anyway, He called Abraham to go to Canaan's land by himself. Okay? By himself. Right? And he was worshiping the same God that his descendant Noah worshiped, who worshiped the same God that Enoch worshiped, that Seth worshiped, that Methuselah worshiped, that Lamech worshiped, that Adam worshiped, the Father. And the Father decided he's going to create a nation out of Abraham's children called Israel. Okay? Now, just like Abraham, you and I have to be called alone. I want you to take note, the situation with Nicodemus and the Messiah, when the Messiah told him you must be born again, you must be born of the Spirit, the Father's Spirit, you must have his Spirit, a new Spirit needs to be put in you for you to really be accepted of the kingdom. You need a new spirit in you. He was talking to Nicodemus alone. We are never called, listen carefully, listen carefully. Yah's chosen are never called in a group. Once we became a nation, he was telling them to do as a group, as the chosen nation. But once we were scattered, and before we became a nation, and even during the course of the nation, he called his prophets alone. He called Jeremiah alone, Isaiah alone, Ezekiel alone, Moses alone, Abraham alone. And guess what? He calls us alone. Isaiah chapter 50. Isaiah chapter 50. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 50. And let's see. I'm going to start at verse 1, obviously, but I'm going to read from verse 1, Isaiah chapter 50. Actually, I'm looking at 51, but let's start at chapter 50. Isaiah 51. Let's go to Isaiah 51 first, since we're talking about that. Isaiah chapter 51. Watch this. We're going to get to this in the next lesson, but watch Isaiah 51. Beginning at verse 1. Let's see. I'm going to go from 51 and verse 1, and I'm going to go down to verse 2. Just 1 and 2. Okay, watch this. Hearken to me, ye that follow after righteousness, ye that seek Yah. Look unto the rock whence ye are hewn, and to the hole of the pit whence ye are digged. Look unto Abraham your father, and unto Sarah that bare you. For I called him alone, and blessed him, and increased him. This is the same God that calls us. He calls us especially within the captivity. He calls us alone. And brothers and sisters, I started all this off by saying to y'all, really, he told Adam it's not good for man to be alone. He made him a helpmeet for him. We are social creatures by nature. We like to be around and fellowship with each other. That's natural. That feast that the Father gave us for the nation of Israel to come together and celebrate. That's what a feast is, a celebration. It's a natural thing. It's a beautiful thing. But in this spiritual war in which we find ourselves in, he's calling us alone. We're in a war. We're called to be soldiers. The Apostle Paul told his son Timothy, his spiritual son, he said, be a good soldier for the Messiah. He called you to be a soldier. Brothers and sisters, let me give you this too. Father is calling you and I to be soldiers. No, it's no fun being alone. Yes, we do get lonely. It's not easy, but we're in a war. Understand where we are. We're in a war. When you take a stand for the truth, you're going to be taking it alone. Don't look for people to stand with you. The Father doesn't want anybody to stand with you. He wants you to stand alone. Because if you stand alone for him in the midst of opposition, he can trust you. Okay? If you're in the crowd, you might hide in the crowd. You know what I'm saying? You can hide in the crowd and act like you with your boys or whoever's standing and act like you wanted them. But when you stand alone, you know you're in alone, and you know you're willing to stand against anything. He called Abraham alone, and just like he called Abraham alone and the prophets alone, he calls us alone. This is the end of the days. We got to be willing to stand on this truth, though the heavens fall, all by ourselves. And we won't be all by ourselves, though, really, if we understand the spiritual war that's going on. Remember what Messiah told his disciples. He said, you're all going to leave me. You're going to leave me alone, but I'm not alone, because the Father's with me. Because Messiah could see past the physical and understand the spiritual. That's what we got to do. We got to see past the physical and understand the spiritual. Too many times we focus on the physical, and that way we get confused. Focus on the spiritual. Understand the spiritual war that's happening. Understand your place in it. And be willing to stand alone. Now let's go back to Isaiah chapter 10. Isaiah chapter 10. Isaiah 10. Isaiah 50. I don't know why I said 10. Please pray for me. Isaiah chapter 50. This is where we're at today. Isaiah chapter 50. Now let's go to Isaiah 50. Let's begin from verse 1. Let's go to verse 1 and 2. Isaiah 50, 1 and 2. Thus saith Yahweh, where is the bill of your mother's divorcement, whom I have put away? Or which of my creditors is it to whom I have sold you? Behold, your iniquities for your iniquities ye have sold yourselves, and for your transgression is your mother put away. Wherefore when I came, was there no man? When I called, there was none to answer. Is my hand shortened at all, that it cannot redeem? Or have I no power to deliver? Behold, at my rebuke I dry up the sea. I make the rivers a wilderness. Their fish stinketh because there's no water, and it dieth for thirst. He said he called, but there was no man. That's when we're, as a nation, he said he was writing a bill of divorcement. Somebody might say, well, if he divorced us, how he redeeming us? Remember Hosea's wife? He divorced his wife. Then he came back and bought her off the auction block. He said, I took her into the wilderness and spoke comfortably to her. And he said, I bought you now. You're not going to be with any other man. I bought you for me. I paid for you. Remember what we just read in Isaiah 49? I've written you on the palms of my hands. I just bought you. We went after other gods. He divorced us. He sent Messiah to buy us back. He came to seek and to save that which was lost, the lost sheep of the house of Israel. From the midst of the heathen lands in which we are now dwelling as captives, he bought us. That's what's called redemption. We are lawful captives, and he has paid our penalty and redeemed us from our captivity. He has designed that we should win this spiritual war. We are created to be winners in this spiritual war. But we are being called alone against all opposition. There are many that will say, aren't we supposed to be unified? Not yet. Why not? When each individual stands for themselves, for the truth, and follows the Creator, and his Spirit rebukes us enough and spanks us enough to get us to be molded into the image of the Messiah, once we see each other, there will be an automatic unity. You don't have to worry about it, foster it, plan for it. You don't have to do that. When you're walking in the same spirit that I'm walking in, both of us will agree. When we're walking in the same spirit and have the same desire for the glory of our Father alone, we will be brothers. And it'll come to us. Okay, it'll come to us. All right? That's the unity. In the meantime, there's going to be division. That's right. And all y'all that has stood for the truth know what I'm saying. The Messiah said, I came not to send peace, but a sword. For father against mother, brother against sister, people's enemies will be those of his own household. If you stand for this truth, you'll know that what that means for yourself. For you will have an experience of understanding opposition from those that say they love you. Opposition from those you thought would follow the truth. Opposition from those that are of your own bloodline, your own family. That's standing alone. And you will find out by standing for your conviction of truth alone who your real brothers and sisters are. You will find out who your real, not always it's going to be your blood relative brother and sister that came out the same mother's womb that you did, or the same father's seed that you did. No, your brothers and sisters are going to be completely united with you because they would have stood for the same invisible God that you did. The same spiritual war on the side of Gabriel that you did. And you will have that sharing without even saying a word. The unity, what I'm saying, comes as a natural consequence of standing alone for the truth. That's where the unity comes from. It doesn't come because we're planning to get together and have a camp somewhere. That doesn't bring real unity. Real unity is of the spirit realm and it's tied by the Spirit of the Father. That's real unity. That's real fellowship. That's real brotherhood. He looked for a man. He didn't find any. Remember? He said in another place, I looked for a man to stand in the gap for this people, and I found none. That's when he went into captivity. See? At one point, he had a man that stood in the gap. That was Phineas, the high priest. One of the sons of Aaron. He stood in the gap between the people in that was fornicating with the Moabite women and the people that wasn't. And he stopped the plague by killing that man that was supposed to be a leader in Israel and was bringing a Moabite woman into the camp to have sex with her, who worshiped her gods. Phineas put the spear through both of them and stood in the gap for the kingdom. And the father said to him, I'm going to bless him forever. And bless his children forever. But later on, generations had passed. They were in the promised land, our fathers. And he said, I looked for a man to stand in the gap for this people, and I found none. And brothers and sisters, that's why we got to stand alone. When you take a stand for the truth, and some of y'all should be witnesses, you find yourself alone. I've had times where I would have a brother, and he would say, brother, you telling the truth. You standing the truth. The church is going against you, and you standing for the truth. I'm going to stand with you. And I would stand up, look around, ain't no brothers there. It's just me. And my wife would say, where was brother so-and-so? He said he would stand with you. You see, brothers and sisters, we always got to stand alone. We were called to do that. It's a war we're in. Okay? It's a war we're in. It's not natural. It's not fun. But this is a war. It's a spiritual war. And we got to be a soldier that stands by ourselves with our Father and be satisfied with that. When we get into the kingdom, and we're in the Feast of Tabernacles, man, it's gonna be on. You hear me? It's gonna talk about lit. Shoot. Ooh. It's never gonna end, man. It's gonna be continual feasts of fun and beauty and righteousness and peace. But in order to get there, we're in the war now. We gotta stand alone. Okay, that's just how it is. Don't be ashamed to stand alone. Don't be worried to stand alone. If you're going to be proud of something, be proud of your Father who caused you to stand alone. Praise the Most High, Yah. Let's continue. He continues and he says, I clothe the heavens with blackness, and I make sackcloth for their covering. The Most High Yahweh have given me the tongue of the learned, that I should know how to speak a word in season to him that is weary. He wakeneth morning by morning. He wakeneth my ear to hear as the learned. Yes, brothers and sisters. David wrote, I have more understanding than all my teachers because I trust in your word. You may not understand physics or advanced mathematics or software engineering. You may not understand literature in all of its forms. You may not understand all of the details of these things, but your understanding is from an infinite God. And as you surrender to him, he will cause you to see things that the people in mathematics and physics and software engineering will never see or understand. Deep things that are far-reaching even into eternity. Because you're serving a God that has limitless knowledge. Limitless knowledge. Okay? These things that we fail to understand here are child's play to him. Man's wisdom is foolishness to the Creator. See? Foolishness. Again, we serve a God that's in dimensions and understanding that we don't know about yet. He's in dimensions and understanding that we're going to learn when we get to the kingdom, but it's far above anything this earth has. That's why we don't focus on the physical. We focus on the spiritual, because that's deeper. And the spirit of perfect righteousness, that subject alone will occupy us until the ceiling, because it's deep. The Most High hath opened my ear, and I was not rebellious, neither turned away back. And I gave my back to the spiders, and my cheeks to them that plucked off the hair. I hid not my face from shame and spitting, for the Most High Yahweh will help me. Therefore shall I not be confounded. Therefore I have set my face like flint, and I know that I shall not be ashamed. See? And Messiah dealt with this. They tore off his hair. They spit on him. They beat him. He stood firm for his Father. After all of that, after they had beat him and put crown of thorns on his head, they sent him to Pilate. Pilate said, "You a king now?" You would have thought he would have said no if he was a man, regular man. He said, "My kingdom is not of this world. You got me standing here with a fake purple robe. My face is swollen. Y'all beat me. Y'all spit on me. Y'all put these crown of thorns on my head. But my kingdom is not of this world. They that are of the truth will hear my voice." That's what he said in the midst of all of that. That's how he spoke. That's standing alone, brothers and sisters, for the Father. And believe me, you and I will never have to stand in a situation where we have blood coming out of our pores from resisting sin. Messiah did that for us. So what he's asking us to do in standing for the Father and standing for the truth ain't nothing, comparatively speaking, ain't nothing. And he's also equipping us with a power called grace that whatever we to be able and strengthened to go through it. He supplies that equipment. He supplies that equipment. He don't leave you without equipment, brothers and sisters. Never does. He would be an irresponsible God to do that. He doesn't do that. He equips us for what he wants us to deal with. He don't send us to the war without the proper equipment. And the right equipment is his spirit of perfect righteousness, his spirit of wisdom, his spirit of love for his law, love for his covenant, love for his people. He don't ever send you out to the war without being equipped. If you are scared, you need to go to your Father. There's no need to fear. There is none Asatan, there's nothing dark enough for that foe to bring you that the light of the Father can't overcome. We need to learn that for ourselves. And he wants us to. He's trying to make it happen for us. Why do you think you by yourself? Why do you think you by yourself and he's just giving you his word? Nobody fellowshipping with you except you go on YouTube. Why do you think? It's because he loves you. He loves you. And he's trying to prepare you to live. Listen now. He's trying to prepare you to live forever. Even forever and ever. Your name will go on throughout eternity because you stood now by yourself. Ooh, man. Brothers and sisters, it's powerful. It really is. It's powerful. So let's read that again from verse 6. I gave my back to the smiters and my cheeks to them that plucked off the hair. I hid not my face from shame and spitting, for the Most High Yahweh will help me. Therefore shall I not be confounded. Therefore I have set my face like flint. That means I'm determined. My face is like a stone. You cannot move me. And I know that I shall not be ashamed. I'm not doing it for nothing. You're not standing alone for nothing. You lost money, you lost jobs, you lost family. Okay. It's only natural to miss those things. But you ain't doing it for nothing. You're getting something at the end of the day. You're getting something at the end of this kingdom. that those that are not standing like you are never going to see. Oh, they're going to see it with their eyes, but they ain't touching it. You know, that reminds me of a funny story. I had a good friend of mine many years ago. I ain't seen him in a long time, but he was going through a divorce. Now, like many of us Israelites, because of the economic system in which we live, it's cheaper for us to stay with people that we may not even like, right? So him and his wife, they got divorced, leave the house they were in and get their own places, right? They couldn't afford it. And his wife asked him for the divorce. He granted it to her, but they both stayed in the house. He stayed upstairs, she stayed downstairs, finished basement and such. So she wanted some money one day. She needed some money. So what did he do? He said to her, I will give you money, but I need you to sell me your part of the house. I'll give you some money and you sell me your half of the house. She said, fine. So they agreed on a price. They refinanced the house in his name, and he gave her the money she asked for. So some years later, she said, his ex-wife said, I'm thinking about the house. I'm thinking about selling the house. And you know what he said to her? I'll never forget what he told me. He said, you thinking about selling the house? He said, your mind might be on it, but your hands are not on it. Because she had already sold her half of the house to him for the money that she wanted. And that's the way the wicked are going to be. They're going to see the New Jerusalem with their eyes. Their mind might be on it, but their hands will never be on it. They could only see it with their eyes. And they're going to wish they had stood by themselves like you did. Because you're going to be in it. And your hands are going to be on it. Praise the Most High Yah. I'm getting these connection issues again. Some of y'all may not hear me. I also got the Periscope going here, so I may have to upload Periscope. So if you don't hear me on YouTube, don't worry. I got the Periscope by the grace of the Most High still flowing, right? So if you don't hear it now, you'll hear the rest later. Just letting y'all from YouTube land know what's going on. I got the connection unstable sign again. Yeah. Okay. Isaiah chapter 50. Verse 8. Notice what it says, verse 8. He is near that justifieth me. There's that word again, justification. In the Master, in Yahushua, in Yahweh, shall all the seed of Israel be justified and shall glory. Remember that from Isaiah 45? Here it is again. He is near that justifieth me. The Father stands with those that stand for him. Okay? And he calls them innocent. Born again peoples are innocent. Not because we did nothing wrong, because we did a lot wrong, but because Messiah paid the penalty of our sin and he calls us justified. He is near that justifies me. Who will contend with me? Let us stand together. Who is mine adversary? Let him come near. When Father has caused you to be forgiven, you're forgiven. When he covers you with righteousness, he's covering you with his righteousness. And when he asked you to stand and you did, that means you stood for him. Praise the Most High Yah. Okay? Praise the Most High Yah. You stood for him. Sorry about that. It cut off again. Computer cut off. Sorry about that. So when we stand for Yah, we're standing for him. He said, let them come near to have some problem with him giving you his spirit. Let the enemy try to come near. Let Asatan try to fight with Gabriel. It's not going to help him. Behold, the Most High Yahweh will help me. Who is he that shall condemn me? Lo, they all shall wax old like a garment. The moth shall eat them up. Who is among you that feareth Yahweh, that obeyeth the voice of his servant, that walketh in darkness and hath no light? Let him trust in the name of Yahweh and stay upon his Most High. That's what Daniel did. Remember, we talked about Daniel. That's how we started. Talked about Daniel. 3 weeks he was depressed. He was missing the fellowship of the Spirit. But he stood firm. And Gabriel said to him, you're greatly beloved. Behold, All ye that kindle a fire, that compass yourselves about with sparks, walk in the light of your fire, and in the sparks that ye have kindled. This shall ye have of my hand, and ye shall lie down in sorrow. See, that's the sparks is talking about is man-made religion, man-made philosophies. Don't trust in man-made philosophy. Put trust where you have been created to trust. You have been created to trust in Yah. Yes, I know YouTube is not working. I understand. That's all right. I'm going to have to upload the message from Periscope because I got that. I got that full out. It's working. So I'll be uploading the message from Periscope. Okay, just to let y'all know. Okay, praise the Most High Yah. So we're at the end of chapter 50. Can y'all hear me in Power Talk? Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me in Power Talk? Testing 1, 2. Okay, so we're at the end of chapter 50. We're at the end of chapter 50, and we are getting ready. We're going to do chapter 51 in the next time. We kind of set up chapter 51 already when we talked about Abraham standing alone. That theme that we started in chapter 50 is going to